Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me. And thanks to Faith and Freedom for continuing to stand up for values that have become increasingly uncool in certain circles. It is unfortunately very courageous work. So I'm here to discuss the liberal media's attack on Christianity, and you may be wondering, why me? I'm afraid it's true. If you've heard the rumors, I am a non-believer. You're right to be confused, so I'm an atheist with a master's in religious studies who just wrote a book defending Christianity against the attacks of the secular left. My Roman Catholic grandmother is devastated on two counts, one that I don't worship Christ and the other that I don't worship Obama. Same thing as far as she's concerned. My born-again father is just jealous that I get to hang out with Mike Huckabee and Glenn Beck now and then. By the way, he's my boss, I'm sure you know, and I hear he's coming. I saw a chalkboard backstage. That's not a joke. There's a chalkboard backstage. I know that's for him. Mike Huckabee, by the way, used to sort of try to baptize me by the water cooler on the sly when I'd pass him at Fox News. He's the best. And my high school Christianity teacher at Catholic school probably is wondering where in the lesson she lost me. And then, of course, there's my mom, who's just amused and proud, as usual, which is very nice. But the point is, I don't think you have to be a Christian to want a more responsible and respectful press. And I don't think you have to be a Christian to want the majority of this country, 80%, to be treated with some dignity and honesty. And I don't think you have to be a Christian to rightly acknowledge that Christianity is the bedrock of American history. I don't think you have to be a Christian to espouse Judeo-Christian values. I also don't like murder. I also don't think we should be molesting our children. See, we have a lot in common if we would just sort of get down to it. So the thrust of losing our religion is actually all in the subtitle. I examine the liberal media's attack on Christianity, and if that sounds alarmist or hysterical, well, I'm a pundit. That's what we do. We feign outrage. But in this case, at least, I'll tell you that the outrage is entirely sincere and deserved. A plan is unfolding in every American small town, in every American big city, on the coasts in the heartland, schools, libraries, television, on the radio, in the halls of power, and the sidewalks of Main Street. It is everywhere, and it is not going away. And now, with careful, covert nudges from the Obama administration, a secular revolution that began decades ago has gained unprecedented momentum. The goal of this secular revolution is to overthrow God and silence Christian America for good, not a modest goal. And if you think that has nothing to do with you, you're wrong. Whether you join the 90% of the country that believes or stand with the 10% of the country that does not is incidental, because no matter what you believe and how fervently you believe it, this particular war on God, just the latest of a string of them since the Enlightenment, is a war against all Americans, religious, atheist, secular, not because of whom it targets, but because of whom is doing the targeting. They are the people you see and hear every day. They are people you trust. They are people you rely on to tell you what to wear, what to buy, what to drive, what to watch, what to listen to, what to read, where to live, where to visit, where to eat, who to like, who to hate, who to help, when to go outside, when to stay indoors, when to shop, when to save, what to think, and what to believe. They are the media. So the people that you trust to be fair, accurate, objective, insightful, the so-called watchdogs of the state, protectors of truth, gatekeepers, and guardians of freedom. This, believe it or not, is how the media started out. These are the very people out to shame and mock, subvert, pervert, corrupt, debase, and extinguish your beliefs, the beliefs of the vast majority of Americans and the values upon which this country was founded. And they're doing the one thing they're never supposed to do. They are taking sides. For the great majority, this is problematic enough, but even for the minority, non-Christians or non-believers, this means that their guardians of truth are being dishonest. They are being wholly subjective and, frankly, pretty un-American. Targeting faith is nothing short of targeting democracy, and that's something that should make every American deeply concerned for the future. The problem is that freedom of the press has morphed into power of the press. And assuring this freedom of the press was originally born out of an urgency to protect these important watchdogs from the wrath of a controlling colonial government, giving it the power to criticize authority without retribution, to tell the truth without fear of imprisonment. Now, however, the press has become a political and ideological tool of oppression itself. Instead of watching the state, it is watching you. The press has become so politicized, so self-aware, so self-motivated, so power-hungry, that a careful application of objectivity, and even a careful application of opinion, no longer the rule, but the very rare exception. And why does this matter? Because it puts democracy itself in the crosshairs in three very important ways. One, in targeting Christians, the media is targeting the majority, which actually makes it all the more difficult to see and contain. Majorities often make the mistake of feeling invincible by sheer volume. And then one day the majority wakes up and realizes that their entire way of life has changed while it was busy doing other things. Two, in unfairly targeting Christians, propagating mistruths against them, the media has broken its promise to be fair and objective. And lastly, the opinion media, by spewing ugly invective against Christians, have forsaken the dignity, decency, and tolerance that once held our communities together, and instead, it is driving them apart. And all of this means that the mainstream press no longer deserves the privilege of controlling the conversation. In the past decade, we haven't become any... In the past decade, we haven't become any less Christian, despite the media's routine insistence that we have, nor have we become any less democratic. So the media's decision to target Christian America is not a response to changing social mores. It is a deliberate effort to change them. And the media now has a willing accomplice in the White House. I want to give you a few examples of how this is happening. It's covert at times, ignoring a story, covering up a story, repositioning a story, but it's also incredibly overt and obvious. In short, when I was putting this book together, I had a lot of material to work with. At one point, my editor said, "You have to stop writing. You have to turn the book in." Every day, something new would happen. One example, Katie Couric interviewed the father of a Columbine victim a while back, and he said he thought that the increase in school shootings was because abortion had cheapened the value of life. She took that as an opportunity to warn viewers that some may find those views repugnant. That's a quote. Never mind that more than half the country would probably agree with him. It is not her job to hand out warnings or editorialize. Newsweek's Lisa Miller, who is a repeat offender, helms a column every week called Belief Watch, as if she's on the top of a building every week with a rifle and a scope, watching your belief. She has used her column to, among other things, characterize students at a Christian college as fanatical, fundamentalist, cultural crusaders. She has criticized Pope Benedict for being ugly, not in character, in visage, his face, ugly. She's claimed that the Bible actually supports gay marriage if you read it right. And she pens an annual hottest rabbis list This is Newsweek's resident religion scholar. Joy Behar, she's a friend, but she's misguided, suggested on The View one morning that parents who teach their kids the creation story should be charged with child abuse. When it comes to politics, forget it. Gloves are off. During the 2008 campaign, the liberal media wanted us to believe that Mike Huckabee was some conspiracist who was putting subliminal messages into his political ads. Ads that merely wished Americans a Merry Christmas. The liberal media dispatched dozens of reporters, and Maureen Dowd, to Alaska to investigate Sarah Palin's creepy Pentecostalism, and they had her speaking in tongues, cavorting with witch doctors, praying away homosexuality, banning library books, and hiding condoms. Meanwhile, Anderson Cooper told us that Barack Obama's black liberation theology under Reverend Wright had nothing to do with actual issues. The New York Times told us Obama's faith was none of voters' business. You know, it wasn't that long ago that the New York Times was urging the country to pray for the astronauts of the Apollo 13 mission on its front page. Or that KNBC was signing off its broadcast night after Johnny Carson with the sermonette, "Let Us Pray," and the Navy prayer. Really was not that long ago. But the situation is dire, and a lot has changed in a very little time. When Newsweek devotes its Easter issue to a cover story announcing the decline and fall of Christian America on Easter, and no one is outraged, you know it's gotten bad. I think it would be one thing if the attack on American faith was just part of a liberal political agenda, but when it's coming from the media, I think it's pretty clear that Christian values are in jeopardy, as is freedom of speech and freedom of religion. And because they are attacking the values of 80% of the country, they really aren't mainstream anymore. So I thank you for your time, and I know that you will all continue to be cultural crusaders in this fight. But keep in mind, as you go forward in all of your causes and all of the great things that you do, it is not just a secular liberal political agenda. It is a secular liberal agenda coming from the people you read and watch every day. So tell a neighbor, tell a friend to pay a little more attention. Thank you guys. Enjoy the night.